Our wedding day was supposed to be perfect, the kind of day we'd look back on for the rest of our lives with nothing but smiles. The weather was beautiful, the flowers were exactly how I'd imagined, and everyone we loved was there. Yet, somewhere in the middle of all the excitement, I made a decision that would cast a shadow over that memory for months. My husband, Daniel, had always been close to his best friend, Ryan. They'd grown up together, worked on projects side by side, and trusted each other completely. I admired their friendship, until that day, when I allowed my own nerves and emotions to turn something innocent into something painful. Before the ceremony, Ryan stopped by the bridal suite to deliver a small gift from Daniel. A handwritten letter he'd written that morning. Ryan smiled and said, "He's the luckiest guy alive." I thanked him, but in the rush of everything, I set the letter aside without reading it. I didn't realize then how much that one choice, ignoring Daniel's letter, would change the tone of the whole day. When the ceremony ended and we reached the reception, everything felt like a blur. People kept pulling me in different directions for photos, conversations, and congratulations. I barely saw Daniel for more than a few minutes at a time. Ryan, being one of the organizers, was constantly around, checking on the schedule and helping guests. At one point, while Daniel was talking to relatives, Ryan came over and asked if I was okay. I admitted I was overwhelmed and joked, "I feel like I married the guests, not Daniel." He laughed, and we talked briefly about how hectic weddings can be. Just then, one of Daniel's cousins passed by and saw us talking alone, and I noticed the curious look on her face. A small thing, but it lingered in my mind. Later that night, when Daniel finally sat beside me, he seemed distant. His smile looked polite instead of warm. I asked if everything was all right, and he said quietly, "It's nothing, I'm just tired." But something in his voice felt off. I didn't know it yet, but he had seen that same moment, me and Ryan talking closely, from across the room. The next morning, the mood between us was uneasy. Daniel asked, "Did you spend a lot of time with Ryan last night?" His tone wasn't accusing, just uncertain. I felt defensive and replied too quickly, "Of course not. Why would you even ask that?" That sharp response only deepened the misunderstanding. Instead of talking it out, we both retreated into silence. Days turned into weeks, and the tension stayed. Every time Ryan called or texted Daniel, I could feel the air shift slightly, though no one said it aloud. Finally, I decided to clear the air myself. I invited Ryan and Daniel for dinner, determined to end the quiet distance once and for all. That evening before Ryan arrived, I told Daniel the truth about everything. How I'd felt overwhelmed, how Ryan had only been trying to help, and how I regretted not reading his wedding day letter. I also told him how sorry I was for making light of his feelings instead of understanding them. His eyes softened, and he handed me the very same envelope I had ignored that morning. "I kept it," he said. "You never read it." My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside, Daniel had written simple, heartfelt words about starting our life together, about choosing patience and trust no matter what. Reading it then, weeks later, made me realize how easily fear can twist love into doubt when communication is missing. When Ryan came over, Daniel looked at him and said with a small smile, "Guess we both owe her and each other an apology." Ryan laughed nervously, realizing there had been tension he hadn't understood. We all talked openly that night. No accusations, just honesty. By the end of it, the heavy air between us finally lifted. Over time, Daniel and I rebuilt that trust piece by piece. We promised to speak up sooner, to assume good intentions before suspicion. I learned that sometimes a terrible choice isn't about betrayal or harm. It's about silence, about not saying what needs to be said when it matters most. Months later, as we looked through our wedding photos, I found one picture I hadn't noticed before. Me, standing beside Ryan, both of us smiling awkwardly while Daniel watched from a distance. It reminded me of how fragile trust can be, and how strong it becomes once it's repaired. That day taught me more than any celebration ever could. Love isn't proven by perfect days or flawless smiles. It's tested by the moments we misunderstand each other and still choose to stay, explain, and grow. My terrible choice didn't end our story. It became the reason we finally understood how to protect it.